The wall of riot police, like Roman centurions in small-town America. Night after night, we've seen protesters crashing against that wall. And that's how many now see Ferguson, Missouri, a place of violence, an eruption of racial tension. But that's just one of many truths to the community. Our Keith Bogue found some residents who tell a different story.
Race drifts like tear gas through the Michael Brown story. One moment it offers a clear view of what's happening, the next it wraps everything in thick fog. Michael Brown is black. He disobeyed a white cop, that's why he's dead. No, he's dead because he threatened a cop. Black or white doesn't matter. Race does matter, and Brown is every black man. No, he's a particular black man, not every black man. Yes, race matters in America, but not in this case, not in this town.
Clearly, those who come out to protest every night strongly believe in their version of the story, which is that Michael Brown was a victim of a police force that could only see young black men as a threat. But there are those who believe that's not true. They believe it just as strongly because they've lived here for a long time and because they're black too.
You get a hint from the angry confrontations that not all see this through the same lens. They disagree about whether protesting necessarily means resisting authority.
Let's move on the sides and let's go back.
Back it up.
We're peacemakers here. Hands up.
Last night, community leaders tried to turn back the protest to avoid a clash with the National Guard that others seemed to want.
You must disperse the street immediately.
And still, there is another world even more divorced from what happens here on Ferguson Avenue in the heart of the protest zone. And it's just around the corner, 2 blocks away. This is what most of Ferguson looks like. Affordable bungalows on wide, tree-lined streets. There's obvious pride in the well-maintained lawns and gardens, the usual displays of American patriotism here and there. Downtown has a villagey feel to it. Inner city St. Louis is 15 minutes away, but it might as well be on another planet. Walter Harrison has lived here happily for 20 years, but for the last 10 days, he's lived in fear. Fear that the violence a couple of streets away will arrive at his doorstep.
They've taken this all out of proportion. You know, it's not about, isn't it Michael Brown? It's not about Michael Brown anymore. It's about outside people coming in here, terrorizing our neighborhood.
You feel terrorized?
I do. I really do. I haven't slept since, last Saturday? I've been up all night, you know. I work 2 jobs. I have to go to work. I'm up at 2:30 in the morning, every morning, going to work. And, you know, I haven't slept. I have a wife and granddaughter and daughter in there, you know, and I can't sleep because you never know what's going to happen. You know, I don't know if it's going to spill over into the neighborhood. That's why I'm glad you guys are out here showing this is the real Ferguson.
By now, the entire country knows this about Ferguson. Its population of 22,000 is 67% black, but its police force of 53 has only 3 black officers. For many, those facts are at the root of the problem, and they spin their own stories about what it all means. For Walter Harrison, the police are just fine.
I think they're doing a good job. You know, I don't know, like I said, I'm not one to judge. I don't know what happened. Everything will come out, you know, when they're done with their investigation, and, you know, then we'll go from there. But I'm not going to go out of here and loot and let, you know, we, the citizens of Ferguson, shouldn't allow other people, outside people, to come in here and tear up our neighborhood like this.
This particular neighborhood in Ferguson is different. This is Canfield Drive, where Michael Brown was shot, and it's just a block from Florissant Avenue, the protest zone. It's a tiny island of what's called Section 8 housing, privately owned apartment buildings for low-income people where rents are heavily subsidized by the government. Everyone we've spoken with over the past week has said the Section 8 neighborhood is a troubled place, starting with the mayor.
This is all centered around one apartment complex. One apartment complex, you know, less than 1,000 people, 500 people out of 22,000 people. That's where this is centered. And yes, there are problems in that apartment complex. There has been for the past several years, and we've worked very diligently to make it a safe place. We've worked with the ownership over the past several years to make it a safer location. But the transient nature of so many people in this region, because of not having stable housing, has made it difficult for them to grow and be part of a community.
People from the Section 8 neighborhood have a short walk into the thick of things. These people will tell you that what happened to Michael Brown is barely a paragraph in the 400-year-old story of race in America.
They don't have the right to police us because you all, since 1619, we've been in prison in America. So how long is it going to go on? It's been going on since 1619. So y'all tell us how long is it going to go on. We have to give us our freedom. When will we be free? That's how long it's going to go on.
Missouri's darker past is very present here.
I'm tired of us being mistreated as a whole by the police department. They feel like they have the authority to do what they want to do, and I feel like that's not right. St. Louis was, the last free slave state, and we are behind in everything.
I can't really say it was racial,
Tiffany Colony lives nearby the Section 8 neighborhood. She is afraid to say what she thinks to her black friends, but what she thinks is that much of the trouble is imported.
No one would ever know. Like they said, it's always a two-sided to every story, but, yes, he was in the street. Yes, the officer told him about the street, but we don't know what happened between that time. So I can't say it was a black and white thing. I don't, I really don't feel it being a black and white thing.
But it
could have been a scary, one person scared, the other person could have been going through, we don't know.
But it seems that people
are making it
that way. I've heard some people say that a lot of the trouble is being caused by people from
outside. The community is not even harming their community. It's the people that are in the city that are coming here, tearing up the businesses, and they don't have any problem with it.
We've got to stick together.
Last night, many of the demonstrators formed a line and, arm in arm, tried to walk the agitators back from a confrontation with police and the National Guard. It worked, but only for a while.
United we fall! United we stand!
There is absolutely no doubt that there is outside agitation here. Whether that is why there has been looting and burning, who can say? No one owns the whole story here. No one owns the truth. People will believe what they want to believe about this. And so, in the end, it will be what they want it to mean. Keith Bogue, CBC News, Ferguson, Missouri.
Well, Keith joins us now. Keith, you've shown us that Ferguson is much more than the images we've all seen. Many people there seem keen to shatter any stereotypes that exist about their community. In your days there, talking to people and people from different backgrounds, I wonder what your impressions are about that word, stereotypes.
Well, I think they probably really crystallized last night. I'll tell you that story. I was out walking with my colleague Jean-François Bisson around the protest area, watching what the protesters were doing, when suddenly I heard someone yell out, "Give me back my cell phone." And I turned around and I saw a confrontation between a white guy in his early 30s and a tall, skinny black guy who was somewhat younger. And it appeared as though the black guy had stolen the cell phone from the white guy, and he's just sort of staring at him, and then suddenly he just hauls off and punches him in the face and disappears into the crowd. And I'm still trying to recover from seeing that when I noticed about 30 seconds later, there's a young woman getting ready to take a picture, as we all do, holding the cell phone out in front of her like that, and she's framing the shot and sizing it up when suddenly this teenage black kid comes along and just snatches the thing out of her hand and races off into the crowd. And I'm angered by this because of the theft, obviously, but also because I'm wondering, do you have to confirm stereotypes in this context? Do you really have to? And so I started thinking more about all the stereotypes of this week, and I thought about Captain Ron Johnson, whom I think we've seen quite often. He's the captain of the Highway Patrol who's taken over security here, and he's quite a figure. He's very impressive. Speaks very well, very passionately, very honestly, very directly to people, and they're thrilled by him. When they saw him at the Michael Brown Memorial on Sunday, he gave a speech that really stole the whole show. It was electrifying. People were on their feet, interrupting, applauding, cheering, and yet, when he's on the street trying to do his job and plead for calm and patience, he's abused by his own people. He's an African American who came from this community, and yet they cannot see past the uniform. They cannot see the man, and they treat him like he's any other cop. So when you think about what's happened over these last 10 days and you hear people search for meaning in the death of Michael Brown and whether that says something about American race relations, I say, if you want to know about American race relations, just look at how desperately people still cling to stereotypes.
Thanks very much, Keith.